Breezy Monday with a mix of clouds and sunshine. Not as cold again. The high moving up to 36. Keep up to date with the AccuWeather app. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina for News Talk 1480 WHBC.
WHBC AM Canton. Reliable as ever. Powered by Friends and Family Credit Union. It's time to bring a friend into the family. On News Talk 1480 WHBC. Live from the studios of News Talk 1480 WHBC. It's Kenny and JT.
It's become a Friday staple here on the Kenny and JT show, and we give a shout out to the Pro Football Hall of Fame with their Hall of Fame residency program. They're bringing in Hall of Famers to get out in the community in Canton and the surrounding areas. And the last stop for the guys is on the Kenny and JT show here on WHBC. And we welcome today legendary middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears, Pro Football Hall of Famer, class of 1998, the one, the only, Mike Singletary. Mike, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thrilled to have you with us. And this Hall of Fame residency program, we love it because we get a chance to talk to guys like you and other Hall of Famers. And the surrounding cities love it because you guys get to go out and really mingle with the people and, go see Stark County and the surrounding area. So for our listeners, give them an idea of where you've been since you've, become a part of this residency program.
Well, yesterday I went to the juvenile center and met with some of the young kids there and talked with them a bit, and that was really interesting, really good time, meeting face to face and getting to feel kind of where they are. Today, looking at we went to Mansfield, what have you, and visited the center there, and I visited some of the men that are there in the facility there, and just kind of had more of a one-on-one.
Oh, okay.
With them today, this morning, and that was really, really good. It was great to be able to talk one-on-one and really get a feel for what they're thinking now, today, after reflecting on their lives and kind of where they are, where they're going, that kind of thing. And then after that, later today, around lunchtime or so, had a chance to kind of visit with the Hall of Fame, inside of the Hall of Fame, and that was pretty cool, just talking about some of the experiences and things like that. And then just left the hospital, the Children's Hospital, cancer patients and burn victims.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
You do have a relationship with the church. And I was reading on your Instagram and your Wikipedia page. How does that relate to what you do when you do things like that? When you're speaking in front of maybe inmates or cancer patients or any group of people? Because it always seems to be like growing up here in Stark County, it was Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and somehow, some way, they intertwine with sports. How is that?
Well, for me, if you were to kind of look at the depth of my life, if you were to kind of unveil some of the things, the church would be number one for me, and of course my father was a Pentecostal pastor, and so after the church, family, and then football, and then after football, charity, being able to make a difference in whatever you've achieved, whatever you've done, to be able to spread that and share that with others that that you can. So to me, that's kind of the order that life is for me.
Okay.
When did football become a big part of Mike Singletary's life?
Actually, after I really took an interest in football, my dad was a Pentecostal pastor, as I said, and the Pentecostal church, you can't play sports. So by me being the last of 10 kids, I got 5 older brothers that were much better athletes than me. I was kind of the runner of the family. And so my mom and dad divorced when I was 12. And so I begged my mom to let me play.
Okay.
And she said I can play as long as I didn't get hurt. And so...
so you lied. You were hurt and you never told her, right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. What are you using that ice for? Just rubbing it on the skin. It's something new. No, but you're exactly right. You hurt? No, I feel good.
No.
But anyways, that was kind of how I started playing the game. And I was telling someone earlier today, I was trying to figure out which position I was going to play. Mm-hmm. And so I had everybody telling me, you look like you could play safety or fullback or something like that. And I said, well, what does a safety do? He said, well, he back off the line and he tries to defend the deep balls and stuff like that. So I don't like that. I said, well, what does a fullback do? Well, the fullback kind of blocks for the halfback. And every now and then, he gets the ball. And I said, no, I don't like that. So, well, the only other thing I think you could play is middle linebacker.
Unreal.
And the middle linebacker, you're not quite big enough for that. But
right.
I said, well, what does he do? He said, well, the middle linebacker is kind of the leader of the defense, and he hits everything that moves. I said, I like that. That's what I want to play.
That's awesome.
And that's the only position I've ever played.
Really?
It's the only thing the only thing I did in high school when we got inside the 5-yard line, I would go in as a guard. Okay. But that was really just being the middle linebacker again. Just go
hit somebody.
Go hit somebody.
When you grow up in Texas, is everybody a Dallas Cowboy fan?
Pretty much.
Early on?
Pretty much.
So looking up at the Dallas Cowboys, and you're just a couple of years older than me, everybody here was a Dallas Cowboy fan as well, even if we're only an hour south of Cleveland. My brothers, my cousins, everybody. It was America's team back there. The Staubachs, the Landrys, everybody. Who did you look up to as a child that says, one day I'm going to be there playing alongside or against these guys?
Well, you just said it, Staubach. We really weren't allowed to watch football at home. And I got to admit, I lied a few times that I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't go to church on Sunday. I stayed home, to look at the game. Wow. And so I looked at Staubach, and I loved Staubach because I thought he was a class guy, and they always had a chance to win at the end of the game. And so that's what I really wanted to do. But I found out early on I wasn't a quarterback.
Right.
So I said, I like hitting people. I do like hitting people. And kind of the way, growing up the way I grew up, being the last of 10 kids, bullied around and pushed around, you kind of, get ticked off after a while. So I kind of had a chip on my shoulder. Middle linebacker was the best thing I ever could have done. Football was the best thing I ever could have done.
We talk about this at the gym every day. Yeah. If you had your list of middle linebackers, and I tell Kenny this story a lot. When I was playing ball, I played small Division III football, and every night we had a big game, they would show us one of the NFL films, but every time it was the same one. It was Dick Butkus, the Chicago Bears. And so every day, it was like an inspirational thing. We're going to go knock somebody's head off because he was nuts. But we look at that film, and we start to compare guys, and we're like, wait a minute, man. If you had your list of middle linebackers of all time, whether it's Butkus, Nitschke, or whoever else, it's Mike Singletary until maybe a Ray Lewis comes along. How do you look at the position?
You know what? I look at the position. I remember growing up, I was always asking, how do I become the best of all time? So, well, if you want to be the greatest of all time, one of the greatest of all time, you have to be a headhunter. You have to blow people up. I mean, the running back needs to be thinking about you.
Am I sitting too close to him?
No, you're good.
The running back has to be thinking about you rather than getting that extra yard. The running back needs to start thinking about, am I going to be able to play next week and just get through this week? And if you're a middle linebacker, that running back, if he doesn't have that thought process, you're not the guy. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when you stand in front of the huddle, you are the lion of that huddle. And you got to, what you say, that goes. I don't care who it is. Everybody's quiet and they're listening. And so those were the two things. And so you want to hit headhunter physical, and then you want to be able to cover one-on-one any back, any tight end. So that's what I did. I worked on that every day. I worked on my hitting ability. I worked on my legs and being able to make sure that I was able to get low enough, my leverage point, and I worked on pass, being able to cover receivers and running backs and things like that. Those were the things that I did every day.
Could you have played in today's game with the way the rules are?
I'll put it this way. Yes, I wouldn't have a lot of money. But yes, yes, I'd be broke a lot. But yeah, we could play.
Yeah, I get it. I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I'm a Steelers fan. My middle linebacker, 58, right? You two very similar. Pain inflicted. Preston Pearson in the Super, Charlie White or Charlie Waters in the Super Bowl. Everybody. Mean Joe was the anchor of that, but Lambert was the leader, right? And you remind me so much of him in your leadership, your intensity, and Super Bowl champion as well. That defense was arguably the greatest in a single season in the history of the NFL. Why? Why was it the best?
Why wasn't?
Why was that defense the best? Because we have this argument about the steel curtain. You hear Ray Lewis say, no, it's the Ravens defense, the 85 Bears.
It was the best
You know what?
team.
Here is what I would say. If someone were to ask me, who's the greatest defense of all times? For 1 year, I would say the Bears. For a span of time, I would say Pittsburgh. For just very similar to the Bears in that 1 year, but not as widespread. I mean, they really protected Ray, and Ray was the guy. He was going to get it. And but those are the three defenses. The defenses to me that that really signify what a nasty, in-your-face defense. Those are the three that come to mind. And when you talk about, who's the best, you just got to pick what you like. But
I like the 85 Bears. To me, that's the best team ever. I don't care about the 1972 Dolphins. When you lose one game, you win a Super Bowl, and to play the way that you guys played with all that talent and all those personalities, it was probably the best team that I've ever seen in my lifetime. But you also shared the city with number 23 in a basketball team. Now, Kenny, I was thinking about this because we had LeBron James in Cleveland, but the Browns weren't that good. So anytime we always have the conversation in sports talk, is it a Browns town? Is it a Guardians town? What is it? But we never had two champions playing at the same time. You're in Chicago the same time as Michael Jordan. How did you get through that?
You know what? In all honesty, Chicago at that time, it wasn't just, it was Michael Jordan, it was Walter Payton,
Yep,
it was Coach Ditka, it was Buddy Ryan, and it was Jim McMahon. It was, those were the guys that you were hearing about. Those were the guys that were in the media. Those were the guys that, and that's kind of, how it was at that time, particularly for that one year. But that's what it was. It was Jordan. It was Peyton, Jimmy Mack. Jimmy was crazy as I don't know what, and
so all
Chicago
that's true,
loved
right?
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
but there's no rivalry there between
You don't even want to know the rest
No,
of
we
it.
do want to know. Come on,
you don't. But Jimmy was crazy as could be. But one of my favorite teammates to play with. Every Friday after our Friday practice, Jim and I didn't talk very much. But on Fridays, we talked after practice. My question would be, Jimmy, what do you guys need? He said, Mike, this team, they're pretty good, man. We can score 3 points. We're going to need you guys to get us some turnovers. We're going to need the ball, man. And it's okay. I tell the defense, guys, we got to get the ball. And other game, Jimmy said, hey, we can get 14 points. We can score 3 touchdowns. Jimmy was right on it most of the time. Man. Jimmy was a brilliant mind. Mm-hmm. He was just crazy, like he's crazy as he could be. But I, just to let you know about Jimmy, this tells you everything about Jimmy. Coach Dicker is calling him to the sideline, cursing him out. No, I'm going to tear your face off. I'm going to do it. And Jimmy's looking at him and just kind of turn away from him. Dick is right there yelling at him, and he's like, yeah. Hey, give me some water. And look at Coach Dicker and say, no, we're not running that. I got it. Go back out there, touchdown. Come back to the sideline, and Dicker's like, yeah, good job. That happened all the time.
Really?
All the time.
Wow.
All the time. And that's why the team loved Jimmy Mack. That's why the offense loved Jimmy Mack.
No kidding.
Because Jimmy was that's just who he was. That's just who he was.
He's a leader, and everybody rallied for him and around him.
He was a different kind of leader. He could do things that a lot of guys couldn't do. They get behind Jimmy. Tell him, Jimmy.
Yeah. We had Jimbo Colbert on the show not too long ago. So, he was telling us some stories about Jimmy. And we asked him about Walter, too. So any guy that's played with Walter Payton, we always would love to hear your perspective on, well, it's the Walter Payton Award that they give out every year, arguably with Jim Brown and Barry Sanders, the 3 greatest running backs of all time, right? So being a teammate of Walter's, what can you share with us and our listeners here on WHBC Radio, Mike Singletary?
When I first started playing middle linebacker and when I asked him, what would it be, what do I need to do to be the greatest of all times? I said, Mike, you got to be physical. You got to be nasty. You got to tear. You got to be a headhunter, all that. You would think that Walter Payton asked the same question and got the same advice because you did not want to tackle him. And any DB, linebackers, did not want to tackle him because he was just as physical. His deal was if you're going to hit him, you got to, we jogged together in practice before practice would start. We'd be jogging around and, Walter would look at me and go, Mikey, what you think? Think you can take me? Boy, I'll blow you up, man. Yeah. I'll blow you up. Because Dicker wouldn't let us hit him. One day, the shirt you got on, one day Todd Bell, who's from Ohio State, knocked the living crap out of Walter. Walter was coming through coming through the line, dancing and doing all that because he couldn't be hit. And for some reason, Walter and Todd, something happened. Todd knocked him on his butt. Helmet flew in the air. Walter wasn't ready for it. He didn't think he was going to get hit. And Coach Dicker lost it. It was like he lost it. And Doug Plank, another guy from that school whom I love, Todd was my roommate. And Doug Plank would hit Walter. Coach Dicker seemed like every other day. Plank! Yeah. Oh, okay, Coach. I just forgot. And it seemed like every other day he'd forget and knock the crap out of Walter, and Coach Dicker would go off on him. But Ohio State had some amazing players, particularly DBs. Amazing DBs.
DBU back in the day. Jack Tatum and those guys, right?
Yes.
Training video on NFL films with Walter Payton running that hill in all the conditioning. Did you do that with him too?
I did. I did it one time.
That was it.
I did it one time. Yeah. He said, Mike, how about I come and work out with you and you come and work out with me? On my hill was a shorter hill where you went up forwards and you went up backwards and you went up sideways, both sideways. Walters Hill, you could only go up forward. It was so steep.
Unreal.
You can only go up forward. And so I did it one time. It's not for linebacker, boy. This over here is for linebacker. How about you come over here with me? I'm like, no. No.
We are thrilled to have Mike Singletary in studio with us as part of the Hall of Fame residency program, class of 1998, 12 seasons in the NFL, all with the Chicago Bears. What did it mean to you to play your entire career in Chicago?
Oh, it means a lot. It's one of the reasons I negotiated my own contract. One of the reasons. Because I didn't want somebody to use me as leverage to, try to take me somewhere else. I didn't want to go anywhere else. Chicago, I believe that's where God had me play, and that's where I wanted to finish my career. And thankfully it worked out that way.
Yeah, and it was a career that ended up in Canton, Ohio. At any point while you're playing, are you thinking about Canton and the Hall of Fame?
I was thinking about Ken when I was 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
They call Canton Little Chicago for a reason. You.
Yeah. Well,
one of them.
Seriously, I was thinking about Ken when I was 12 years old.
Where did that come from? What made you think about Canton? That dream?
That was the question that I was asking. How do I become the greatest of all times? So you can't be the greatest of all time and not think of Canton. Yeah. No, that was when I was 12 years old.
So the intensity started at 12?
No, it didn't really start at 12. It just being able to get on the field. The intensity really didn't start until I really began to, maybe it was maybe in like ninth grade, when my coach, I had a coach sit me down and tell me, son, you're just not, you're a good kid and you're working hard but you're just not nasty. You gotta get some pepper from somewhere, son. I'm like, pepper? What are you talking about? And so I just began to look at video footage. I go to the library and I started looking at Butkus, and I started looking at Willie Lanier. I started looking at Mike Curtis. I started looking at Ray Niskey and some of that film, Lambert and those guys, and beginning to get a feel for that nastiness. But to see it is one thing, but you can't see something and have that be. I just began to, there was some tapes that I got from Norman Vincent Peale, and the amazing results of positive thinking. And I began to listen to those as a kid. And you've seen the movie Waterboy?
Yes. Yep.
That is a true story. That's my story. When you look at Waterboy, that is my story. Because I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. I hated my dad. He left my mom when I was 12 and, all the other stuff. And so I began to learn how to take all of that hate and the pain and the frustration of being bullied around as the youngest of 10 kids, and mom struggling to make ends meet, and not enough money, brothers in and out of jail, sisters having babies out of wedlock. It was all hell breaking loose. Mm-hmm. And I would sit there and take all of that, close my eyes, and just process that. And see myself taking that and just in playing, and seeing that ball snap, and seeing the running back approaching the line of scrimmage, and being in perfect coil position and just striking, just all of that. And I learned how to do that, and that became where the energy was going, all the intensity. That's where that came from. Wow. Being able to see that, being able to close my eyes and see what I wanted to be and how I wanted to do it. And so that's why it carried over when I was in college. You know, my coach would challenge me, you know, if you want to be the greatest, you got to make 25 tackles. You know, and at that time, that was unheard of. Still is. I would make 30. You know, Tom Cousineau, who was a great linebacker at Ohio State, we played them my sophomore year. He said, you're going up against Tom Cousineau, who is an All-American. He's considered the greatest in college football today. You play against him this weekend. You have to outshine him. You have to, if you want to be the best. Tom Cousineau, I think, had like 26 tackles or something like that. I had 35.
In one game?
In one game.
Against Ohio State?
Against Ohio State.
How could you be so soft-spoken and be such a beast on the field? You had a nickname of Samurai Mike. I mean, you're a beast. To me, when you get emotional, and I get emotional on the radio, and I can listen to you speak all day long.
Me too.
Did it ever occur to you that you're a very soft-spoken individual that plays probably the roughest game on the planet?
Well, I've always known that, but my mom taught me as a kid, it's the quiet ones that are the ones you got to watch. Son, just close your mouth. You ain't got to come in shouting and running. Just close your mouth and work. And that's what I did. I just closed my mouth and just work.
And you reached the ultimate goal, not only of winning a Super Bowl, but that dream as a 12-year-old of making it to Canton, Ohio. Mike Singletary, wish we had more time. Like JT said, I could listen to you for another 2 or 3 hours. So whenever you come back to Canton, you've got an open invite to come sit in with us. We'll take you to dinner, lunch, breakfast, all of the above, and just listen to you talk about playing the game that you loved, obviously with a passion.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you for coming in today and coming back as part of the Hall of Fame residency program.
All right, sir.
Mike,
God
thank
bless.
you so much. Mike Singletary, ladies and gentlemen, spending time with us today here on the Kenny and JT Show. How good was that?
It's the best, man. I mean, I told you I was a little bit nervous coming into this thing today because I know the individual and I've seen enough film and I know enough about the game to know that that man is not only a great individual, one of the greatest players of all time, but even a better human being.
Right. Go grab him so we'll get a picture. I'll sign off because we got to get out of here. We got Cavs basketball coming up. So thanks to Tim Alcorn, Brian Hartline, Scott Petrak, and mostly Mike Singletary for joining us on the Kenny and JT Show today. If you missed any of it, Brian Novak has it in podcast form at WHBC.com. Go listen to it there. Cavaliers and Sixers are up next. Go Cavs.
We now join Cavaliers pregame activities in progress on 1480 WHBC.
So with 2.8 seconds to go, Darius went to the